Alright, welcome back, and in this video I want to show you how to go from this to this, even if you've already relapsed during No Nut November, because I'm, again, late to the party. And there are three things that I see guys doing wrong all the time during No Nut November, and also obviously during other months as well. Things that either limit your progress, best case scenario, or worse, destroy the progress that you already have fought for and make future progress more difficult. And you don't really want to work hard to make things more difficult for yourself. I mean, that's not really why you work really hard, is it? And all three of them are super common, but I see, especially when it comes to the third one, very few people are actually talking about it. So the first one has to do with our big friend, the streak. And there are great benefits to having a clear sense of progress. It can help you feel motivated, accomplished, and just good about yourself. You get to a certain number of days and you feel like you've reached a milestone. You know you can set yourself some goals and go out and conquer them. And that's a good thing. And the more days you manage to stay on track, the better you feel about yourself. Makes sense, right? Right? But that is exactly where the problems start coming in. Why? Because the first common mistake is that people who start out often over-identify with their streak and their mood falls and rises with that number alone. And that is actually making things worse for you. If you tie your sense of self-worth to the number of days you're reaching, you set yourself up for an intense emotional roller coaster with tons of shame waiting for you at the very bottom every time. And just to be clear, I'm not saying that the days don't matter at all. If they motivate you and you feel better about yourself, go for it. But let's face reality here. 99% of people will fall. A lot. Which means that you watching this will have setbacks one way or another. Which then means we have to learn to handle those setbacks in a smart way, instead of trying to pretend like you will never fall again. This is just not how it works. And on top of that, it can also lead to these mindsets and ways of thinking of, now that I'm down here anyway and my streak is reset again anyway, I might as well binge. Until I'm too disgusted with myself and kick myself in the ass. So what to do instead? Instead of focusing on the number of days you've been clean, focus on the number of days you've put in the work for you to be stronger and healthier. Have you taken care of your body? Have you taken care of your mind, feeding it a healthy diet of input and training your mental strength? Simply have you put in the work to take care of yourself and to become stronger. Thinking within that framework is the first thing you have to mind, because the stronger your mind and body are, the easier it is for you to face any challenge. And you don't fall into this binge mindset if your streak resets, because you can train to become stronger any second. You can always train yourself to become stronger. The next big mistake is something that we already mentioned in number one. Let's say you find something that motivates you, that gets you excited to get your life in order, like No Nut November. Great, go for it. You feel good about yourself, you feel motivated, you read up on the benefits, on the superpowers, read success stories and imagine how great and amazing your life will be. And then you meet every challenge that comes your way with unwavering willpower. You push through it. I know this, I've been there thousands of times myself. And it feels great, but the second most common mistake on NoFap is that people rely too much on never-ending willpower. There's something that I call the hype willpower relapse shame cycle. And you probably have seen different versions of that cycle. Hype, you find something to hype yourself up with, success stories, the superpowers, how amazing your goals will feel like. Then you go over to willpower. You muscle through every challenge with your iron will until you don't. And you relapse, which then is quickly followed by tons of painful, icky shame that you just can't shake and just feels like it destroys your soul until you find something to hype yourself up with again. And most of you know this cycle inside and out because you've been through it many times, as have I. So how do you break out of it? Use the satisfaction of fulfillment to pull you forward instead of relying too much on the excitement of motivation. What do I mean by that? Well, ask yourself that question. What type of man do you want to be? The answer to that already probably motivates you. A bit at least, maybe even very much. Good. But mainly focus on that satisfaction that you get when you are in the process of acting like the man you want to be. Not the excitement of motivation of how it might be in the future. Very subtle but very important difference in guaranteeing you long-term success. Because it's never about having to give up PMO. It's always about getting to becoming the man that you would admire yourself. Write your own story. You've been this kind of man and you want to be this kind of man. And there's a gap for every one of us. Your journey through this gap is your story and you get to write it. That's why I take a client through the process of writing their own story with them. I take them through the process of mental strength workouts, taking them through the very process of being the type of man that they want to be, instead of just hyping them up with hot air. I encourage them, I believe in them, but I don't hype them up with how amazing the superpowers will be. Why? Because if you are too excited, too hyped up, you take on too much and you crash and burn every time. I've seen it too many times over the years. You feel motivated and you decide to eat healthy, get up early, study, work out, work on your business until deep into the night. I get that, it feels great, but don't beat yourself up if you take on way too much and then crash and burn, like you probably have done in the past. So mistake number 3 is taking on too much. And what I do instead, I prefer to teach them frame habits. I call them that because they put a frame around your day and they're very simple. They can be only 2 simple habits. One that you do first thing in the morning and one that you do last thing in the evening. And only those have to be ironclad and set in stone. Get up at this time and do habit A, go to bed at this time and do habit B. I even have 2 alarms for that reason. And most people only talk about their perfect morning routine. And almost nobody talks about the evening before that morning routine. Because even the best morning routine can't really undo the damage a really bad evening might have done. You might start sluggish, you stayed up too late, you did things that crashed your sleep. And being a man of your word when it comes to your frame habits has 2 massive advantages. First, they structure your day. You're much more likely to actively go through your day, plan things out instead of just being a leaf in the wind. Because you know you have to be in bed at, let's say, 10 p.m. And you will most likely do more than just those 2 frame habits. And even if you only do these 2, at least you did that. But make sure that those 2 frame habits are in place, no matter what. Second, and maybe even more important, being a man of your word simply makes you respect yourself way more, which then makes you more confident and more positive about your own future. And this sense of progress, this sense of being in the process of becoming the man you would admire, of becoming stronger, is what makes you feel like life is worth living, not just a simple number of days. And if you've come this far and want to make the most out of November, whether you have already relapsed or not, does not matter. I strongly recommend my $1 ebook where I go into way more detail into how I now got to be 7.5 years free. And you find the link in the description down below.